Hello and welcome to our next live stream. I am your host, Ben Wheeler. Always a pleasure to chat with people and chat with my good friend, Anthony. How are you doing today, Anthony? I'm
Hi, Ben.
going to start. Excellent.
So I'm going to destroy the map for everybody, and call an audible and say we just spent a solid half hour
Right. First it
get the whole
was,
setup working.
yep, first it was me, then it was you, then it was me. And it's like,
My good
oh
friend.
boy, that's all we know is struggling with OBS and weird headphone
Yep,
issues. Ah,
I'm. I used like four headphones throughout the. Ended up using none. So right now I am talking just a regular, no headphones.
and around his family too, which is how I know this is the perfect time to talk about his many debilitating diseases.
Yes. No, I well. With that said, like my dad did come on and go, "Oh, you want me to listen in?" I said, "It's a live." Yeah.
Please.
I'm like, if you want to hear about Glep, which my dad, my like care absolutely, which is fine. My sister is also she does. My brother does he does reviews, but my dad, who was the one who asked me, I said, "You are, you know, courage to listen. I want to. I just don't think I'm like I don't vent about personal issues live
Right. It's
to
like,
all of our listeners. I feel like that's unprofessional.
yeah, and it's not that kind of stream. This isn't a
Yeah,
let's
but
hug
it's
and cry
also
it out stream. It's not this.
so that's why I said you can definitely listen to like talking about, but you probably won't want to because Glepner was something to talk about.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's,
I liked episode 3. I just watched it out.
yeah.
It was very
Oh, yeah. Like, and it just keeps getting better every the longer it goes on. Like you think it's just some sort of like fan service action show, but then it's like, ooh, this fan service action show has some depth to it.
I could already see that. There's already a little bit going to tell.
Yep.
If you're paying it, you could already tell there's more going. Uh, I'm really not into the whole as quality, but Glepner has some really good,
Has
and
some
that will keep
really good what?
anime.
Yep, that it does. It's probably one of the better animated ones this season so far. Not that I'm watching everything, but I like it. The action scenes are
I
pretty tight.
watched. I am definitely more impressed with the season. This season has, as far as I can, tell, one legit show, brand new, which X much better than Doro Hedro, which is supposed to be ending for that. Brand is a clear. It's. I think it's the first show of this year that's on the level of the best. How's that? Brand new,
You keep
really
on
good.
cutting out, dude. Like it's on the level of
Testing.
what?
That's on the level of the same shows from last. of the best shows from last.
Ah,
It
yes.
is really good
Oh,
because
yeah.
last year was a very good in terms of show quality. I mean, when you talk about like Studio Gynax, the bucket, Kyoto and Fire, it's hard overall.
Well, Gynax was kind of dying anyway, from what I
It
understand.
was, but there's still a sense of finality. You know,
I
Gynax
guess.
really is dead.
Like someday
I mean,
Shokugeki no Soma will also die. Please, 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 please.
I hope. I do not like, never like, I've tried it. I weirded out and I said, I, it's not, it's not my show.
It was pretty
I,
good.
I'm,
Like the first couple, like first 2/3, I want to say a third, because they had a sense of progression and it was kept pretty grounded in reality. But then it's like they went to some really crazy high pitched stuff and some character moments that just killed momentum and didn't really feel like anything. Like they turned a character evil, but it was like one of those things. It's like I'm turning evil to protect someone. When it's like, uh, he shows up like like a dark Bai shonen, whatever. It's the silver haired guy, and it's like I don't care anymore. I just sort of like laid back and it's like I just want this to be over.
when I realized it was actually a etchy show, immediately I'm show is I
Gleipnir is an etchy show.
Food Wars.
Gleipnir.
Oh, Gleipnir isn't a show, but Gleipnir is an etchy like real act show. Plus, it's not really. I don't. It didn't feel nearly as gross as Food Wars because it was trying to feel gross. If that
Eh,
makes sense.
I get you.
Gleipnir was trying to make it feel kind of gross when you watch that. It was kind of the he
Right.
was very uncomfortable with it. The whole thing was supposed to be found comfortable. Food Wars was supposed to be sexy, and I just felt profoundly uncomfortable. So it was a question of goals, and I'm just it was not the show for. I felt dirty watching. I felt dirty watching it too, but at least that was the idea.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot more nudity in the manga. Just whew,
Food Wars, or
Gleipnir.
yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
I would have been surprised to learn otherwise, actually, considering the type of show it is. Uh, it's definitely very much not the sort of thing that I watch, but I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
I thought Brand New Animal was great. Brand New Animal is so good. It's probably it's probably my favorite studio show project.
Yeah.
They did what was it? The one with the Kai uh S. Dot Gridman.
I never actually
That was
watched
it.
that one.
I recommend it. It's really though. It's for people who are fans of those kaiju fighting shows.
Hmm. Was that
Remember what
the
exact?
which one was that? Scridman.
Uh, that was,
Oh,
and again, it
SSS
was like a
Scridman.
new adaptation property.
Right. Oh, it was the girl with the thighs. All right.
Yes, I knew.
Hey, man, that was the peak of culture. There was no greater culture in animedom during the time of that show, when culture abounded. It was
Yeah, she
bountiful.
memed pretty hard too.
Yep.
It's pretty hard that character, but Yeah, she was that was what that show be. Darling in the Franxx was bad.
Yeah.
And the truth of Darling in the Franxx, Digibro wrote a video that I showed my sister, and she got mad at me because he was correct, which she admitted. Like the video annoyed her because she couldn't disagree with it, but it was called, and I think you know this because I think you might have showed it first. Darling
Probably.
in the Franxx is trigger baby mode.
Yes, I remember that video.
Yeah, it was. So for people who are listening, and I know we really jumped right into this because our
Eh,
audience, you're not just some guy following. Uh, but Darling in the Franxx was like
he thinks we
a
have an
weird mech
audience.
show thing.
Hmm?
It was done by Studio Trigger. That was like teenagers had sex with each other to power the mechs and fight aliens. Which, yeah, that's not even a joke. I'm not even saying that in a tongue-in-cheek way. That's literally a show.
Mm-hmm.
And fine, yeah, it's an idea.
It's weirder.
But yeah, the thing is though, the show was actually like weirdly not weird, if that makes any sense at all.
Yep.
And that was Digibro's whole point, where he said it's like Trigger B mode. So Trigger, of course, is the studio that did Gurren Lagann originally, or technically Studio Gainax was all the, you know, and then they went on and did Kill la Kill for their first show as the studio. So they're known for going very over the top, very throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, that type of thing. And Darling in the Franxx had this weirdly mid into it, I guess. Everything went in a very predictable, pedestrian way.
Mm-hmm.
And the first half of the show was pretty solidly executed, I guess. You know,
Mm-hmm.
where it was this love story with the main character and zero to whatever you would call it, android,
Yeah.
dinosaur, whatever.
She was basically a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And a human,
And
but
again, like it sounds weird, but it's also not as weird as you think it was.
exactly.
So go figure. What?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it should have been weirder. That's really what it was. It should have been a lot weirder. And then after that whole plot line ended, where the girl and the main character, who extremely boring character, end up together, then they just kind of go off the rails a little bit. They go into what Trigger likes to do. Yeah,
Right, they turn
Trigger
into
loves
a
space.
giant version of whatever her name was, and
Yeah,
fly through space forever. I guess it was
and
it was kind of weird.
I liked the first half of Darling. It was like about 0 to 0. Um, I thought that that was good. I did
Mm-hmm.
think that the second half I just stopped watching. It's bad. But after Digibro's video, it was that was why I said like my sister was kind of annoyed at me because it was 100% correct. If you watched it, you couldn't see it anymore. Like the second half of the show was not, it didn't go off course. I guess. I think that's the real issue. Everybody was like, what happened? How did it get so off course? And it didn't go off course at all. This was always where it was heading. This was the
Yep.
show. It was heading. It was because the show wasn't particularly original. It did what it did fairly well, but not in a totally, I don't know, not in an interesting way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it was popular and it earned money, as I understand it. So it's
Yes.
so it's
Well,
like,
they teamed up with A1 Picture or the Sword Art guys, so if there's one thing they know how to do, it's to
uh,
yeah.
It's to be boring.
So it's to make money.
Oh yeah, that too.
I I know that Digibro famously despises A1, and I do not. Uh, what they do, what A1 Pictures does, to my understanding, is they will give everybody a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean, like, they will take an idea, they'll pay the most money for an idea, and then they'll just get their team and have them pump out whatever they can with that IP. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really put
Mm-hmm.
any extra love or effort or energy into anything. They pump out, though, as many of these things as they can as fast as possible, which leads to wildly varying quality.
Oh yeah,
I think that some of their shows are actually really good. Kaguya-sama show,
sure.
which, going back to Digibro, which is funny.
I just the thing about Kaguya-sama is that I don't enjoy rom-coms, and I don't enjoy like clever people sniping at each other. It's just doesn't do anything for me,
Then that pretty Kaguya-sama for you,
right? And it's like, but
since
there's
that's
there's a waifu and a meme ending, and it's like I don't care. What do you think? You think I'm
I
new to
will
memes?
100% agree with you about the meme thing. Ending is overrated ever.
But was it really overrated, or
Yes,
was it in fact exactly what
it
it needed
wasn't
to
even
be?
the best ending of that season.
But it's the one everyone remembers.
Look, I will give it this. It really was, like, ludicrously, absurdly well animated, which is, that's what they spent their animation, but Chica's dress began. You know what? It does look great.
It does, doesn't it?
Uh, yeah, Digibro I know hated Kaguya-sama. No, I normally don't like rom-com, but there are exceptions. That's one. Toradora's the other, and I think
Hmm.
that's about it.
Yeah, I enjoyed Canon and Clanad back in the day, but they're more dramas than rom com.
Uh, Clanad, I'm very yeah. Clanad first off, I wouldn't consider, especially as you get into After Story. I wouldn't add a rom com. Really, it's more just like a
Hmm.
Clanad. I have very mixed feelings on. I feel like Clanad is like a almost like a wickedly constructed story, if that makes
Clanad?
like yes.
What do
And
you
what I
mean by
mean by
wickedly?
it is like designed absolutely chiseled to a fine point, specifically appeal every way. Teenagers, age otaku specific who are watching this show and looking at this sort of story, Clanad is laser focused to appeal to to hit like all of their buttons
I
the
mean, it
way
did.
that it's set up. What was that?
I mean, you're right. I don't have an argument for that. I want to argue, but I can't.
the the reason what made me realize this was like the relationship with Nisa, for example. The whole thing is like weirdly sexless, but also it's not. They mention it at least once. They actually uses the phrase like "I had sex with him," but that was it. I think.
No,
I
it was
literally think that was the only time we ever see it is her saying it to her father at one point.
no. There have been references, like it, but it's mostly involved with the father, who has an incredibly comedic overreaction to it. So, what are your intentions
Yeah,
for your
that was
daughter?
it. That was the one time.
No, it happened other times. He threatened him about it at least once.
Sure, but he would never actually say anything. But she did, like, and on their own, they're always shown sleeping in weirdly, like, romantic, but also not sexual positions. Like, they live together and sleep holding hands, but set apart. Like, the whole thing was all coded to look very much like what an idealized high school romance of, like marriage, like what
Mm-hmm.
that sort of relationship would be like. Everything was very, very laser focused appeal to that crowd.
Ah.
And I have some respect for that, by the way, because it was extremely good at that. Like, you could see the skill,
Oh yeah.
you know, the deliberation in every decision that they made with the show.
Uh-huh.
Like, everything that they did was very, very deliberately designed to have a certain effect. And I have some respect for that.
Hmm.
I was not a fan of it, though.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I
Most.
I will say this: it wasn't that short, and I watched the whole thing.
I
Say
bought it
that much.
twice, technically. Subbed and then dubbed when they came out.
That might be the worst dub I have ever. I
Yeah.
I hated the dub, and I am very with dub, and
And
I could not see a dub.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. The let's see here. Another one I actually enjoyed quite a bit was Nyan Koi. Do you ever watch that?
No.
So it's about this guy who disrespects a Japanese god, and the god curses him such that he turns into that was way too loud. Uh, he turns into a cat every time he does something selfish or something like that, and he has to do 100 unselfish deeds to avoid his curse. Now, here's where it gets spicy. He's allergic to cats. Deathly allergic. He turns into a cat, and the 100 unselfish deeds must somehow involve cats.
Um,
It's fantastic.
that sounds interesting.
So it's like, obviously it's a romantic comedy. It helps that like the main girl is boring, but all the other characters are interesting. The one that sticks out the most is the Yakuza who's afraid of thunder. So she'll like have this big dramatic Yakuza scene, then lightning flashes and thunder booms, and then she'll break down for half a second. So there's like 3 frames of her like clutching her knees and freaking out, and then she's back to doing a Yakuza pose. Honestly, it's the best joke in the series.
The only the only other rom coms I've seen, I did Soradore Children, because once I just decided I tried to watch Soradore Children. That's just a series of rom comish shorts. They are. It was pretty funny.
I want a
I
cyberpunk
liked
rom
it.
com.
Cyberpunk rom com.
Yeah, that's what I want. I just thought of this. Like, I'm looking at the image I have up, which is on a neon colored bicyclist. But, like, it's like, are you cheating on me with this one? And it's clearly an e-thought hologram. It's like, no, she's just a virus. A virus, huh? Where'd you get this virus? Oh, I was pirating some anime. Yeah. So, like, you got the harem, right? It's the main girl who's boring. Then you have uh, an anime hologram waifu. Then you have a street razor, a street samurai, who's tough as nails and has at least murdered 7 people in front of you. You're scared to death, but you're very interested. And then you have like this clearly immortal woman who's like probably an 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 absolute toxic cocktail of horrible things, but who, 100 years old, still looks 23. And then, of course, you had the robot girl. And that's it. Boring, hologram, street samurai, 100-year-old robot girl. Each one's different. That's 5 different girls. I think that works out. And of course, he goes with the boring one. But that's how it goes.
Go ahead, write it.
Okay. I'm already on it, Anthony. I'm already on it. In fact, I gave the idea to Corey, who ran with it, and I expect the book within a week.
You and I both know that Corey is not that fast.
He is, but only the writing part. Everything else is slow.
Well, the thing about Corey is that as much as we will sometimes make fun of the fact that Corey has all of these ideas that he doesn't get written, he actually has written finished long length work,
Yep.
which means I can't get on him too much about it. He has proven he can do it,
Right.
but he has so many ideas. He's a he's a machine of ideas,
He is. It's
and
fantastic.
they're all pretty good ideas too.
Yep. But it's
So I go ahead.
producing. That's the desire. He has to produce.
The only cyberpunk I've ever watched and really loved was, as far as anime goes, Denu Coil is kind of cyber. Love Denu,
I need to watch that.
sort of.
I need to
Denu
watch it.
Coil is one of my all-time favorite shows. Good watch. Uh, the only other book I've read that was cyber of all things was Owen Colfer.
Owen Colfer's what?
He has a book. He had a book. Nobody remembers it anymore, and it's a shame because he clearly set up for a sequel. But cyberpunk in the West is that popular.
Uh huh.
Never got the support, but it's called The Supernaturalist,
Oh
and it
yeah.
was about a kid. It was like set in a dystopian future and whatever, and it's about a kid who was an orphan, and when he tries to escape from the orphanage, if I remember correct, he is killed, and he has a tracker that's he's electrocuted.
Mm-hmm.
he he's electrocuted and he's almost killed, and the tracker that's in him shorts out, and on his deathbed he sees like parasites coming over and feeding on life force, and the group of people find him and realize that he the parasites they his life and have it, which I don't think was officially the Supernaturalists, but that's what everybody's going to remember them as because that's the title of the book. And it was about them like trying to figure out a way to stop this little blue alien life force thing or feeding off his lives. And then the
Mm-hmm.
big twist at the end was that they were actually life force. They were eating the paint. They were off of were on their deathbeds, so that when you were killing them, you were just kind of eliminating a natural killer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very good book, and I highly. That's the only cyberpunk novel that I have ever read.
And
The cyberpunk show with cyberpunk is, it was
you've never read
Denu Coil.
Neuromancer.
No, I haven't.
I don't know, man. But like, what's the point of cyberpunk if you don't like what read Neuromancer or Snow Crash? I don't know.
You're not wrong. I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I should. I really should.
Okay. All right. I guess Guess that's all we have. I guess like it's. I'm just Anthony. You can read more cyberpunk. You get more
Of
cyberpunk
course
in
I
your
can.
life.
If I want to, I could watch Daniel Coyle though. Daniel Coyle is in like my five. I
I
love
do need to watch it. Like it's one of those things that every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, I gotta watch it, but then I don't.
It's cyberpunk for children.
Sorry, I just had an image of like Akira, like as in like cyberpunk for children,
Oh,
and it's
there's
like,
one that I forgot about that I did see. I did watch Kira.
oh, good.
I like it.
You what?
I was not a.
What?
I I was honestly. I still don't really. Now that I think back on, and I have read plot summary thing. So baffling.
But it's not baffling at all.
It definitely
It is
so.
it is not.
Now I am looking up Akira in the back so I can try and plot the film, of course, not
Yeah, I
um.
know. Honestly, though, the manga does it better because they were able to add a whole bunch of
I'm
political
sure
stuff
it does.
that wasn't in the movie very well. So it's pretty simple.
Everybody tells me that the Nausicaa and the Valley are much better.
I don't know about that personally. Um,
Oh
so
no.
hmm,
Oh, and Akira was set in 20.
I know, right? And there was a disease that was ravaging
It was so
Tokyo
optimistic.
during the Olympics, the Tokyo Olympics of 2020. Oh, the parallels are insane. We just need World War III, and it's literally the setting. All we're missing is the psychic powers, which I'm sure we can develop through a proper non carbohydrate protein diet over generations. Anyway, um, so here's the plot of Akira.
But I didn't love it.
Okay, well,
I
here's the.
wasn't.
Right. Did. But you said you didn't get the plot, though.
I'm reading it now and still. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Still.
So here's how it goes. It's actually quite simple. Some bikers get mixed up in a government psychic operation and a breakout. It turns out one of the bikers is himself a psychic. Because he's a psychic, um, they experiment on him and try to get him, going as one. Because he's a punk biker, he rebels and breaks out. Meantime, his friend is trying to break him out of the prison with some rebels who are against the regime. So he gets his powers. He hears about Akira, who was the most powerful psychic ever. He wants to unravel the mystery of Akira for himself, and so he goes to try and figure it out. During this time, his powers start running amok, and he turns into that giant baby thing during a fight between him and his friends, causing damage and killing people and stuff like that. Eventually, the punk biker with psychic power dies, and Kaneda survives, and most of Akira is destroyed. Does that make sense?
Kind
Akira
of.
himself isn't really explained. He's more of a thing that people talk about because he was so devastating long ago.
I'm going through the plot. Yeah. I don't know. I really. I don't know.
Okay, dude. I don't know either. I get like here's the thing. The movie itself is kind of clunky, but where are you like going? I don't get it.
I would see though. Okay, and I'm going through. I'm going through. Like how did he get these powers, and what are the powers? How
So
did things end up this way, and what's going on? What
so
is going on?
I just explained it to you. He had psychic powers
You
that he
did,
hadn't
yes.
developed yet. So they experimented on him and he started developing them. You know, there's escapes and fights with the military and stuff like that. But the big thing is him trying to figure out the mystery of Akira for himself, only to discover that they broke down Akira for parts years ago to experiment on him and figure out why he's so powerful as a psychic. They don't say this, but it's implied. He thinks Akira is still alive but trapped. Turned out it's just his pieces. And Akira is kind of dead, but not really. Psychic. He's dead in body, not in spirit. There we go.
Here's the other thing that happened, if I remember correct. When I saw the movie, I had like no emotional attachment to any of them at all. I cared about.
Okay. I cared about Kaneda. I thought he was pretty funny.
I hold on.
So there's
Now,
Kaneda.
who was the? What was the name of the?
Hmm?
Canada was the one who was trying to. Who was the main character? The one who was
Right.
to rescue the friend.
And then there was
Right.
Tetsuo, who was the kid who turned out to be psychic, and then went on a rampage to try and find Akira.
Right. The evil one.
Right.
Him, I don't care about. Uh,
Aw.
Canada, I guess I kind of like. He was okay. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
I will give it that.
So, like, the thing about Cyberpunk, half of it uh, is like looking cool. The other half of it is like actual depth of meaning and stuff like that. If it doesn't look cool, it's not really true
It's
cyberpunk.
super, super, super mega influential. So,
Yep.
like, it might be influential ever.
Hmm. Yeah, you're probably right. But also, it was like the thing they put the most labor into. Like, I don't even think they've matched its budget or just the effort everyone put into it. And anything anyone's ever done anime style, even Ghibli. Like Ghibli might be more beautiful in some cases, but like even they don't like have the crazy frame rate, the details, the just sort of everything put into it.
Well, yeah, Akira is insane good looking. Also, just like what they were trying was so.
Oh yeah. And like here's the thing, I don't blame people for the attempt. I blame them for the execution. Like they hit the execution of Akira as best as they could. It was practically perfect in my opinion. But you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say in my opinion. Objectively, Akira is perfect. As is the height, I should say, of anime potential, and it has not been matched in
The
35
height of
years.
anime, like visually or generally.
Both, because it's like to me,
Oh,
it
so it's your favorite.
no, not necessarily. Like it's a favorite of mine. But then there's like other things like Redline, which exists, and One Piece Z, and Summer Wars, which are also like top 5 masterpieces of anime. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl is another one. So if I'm gonna say,
I don't even think that Summer Wars is one of Mamoru Soda's best.
I mean, yeah, the Digimon movie's fantastic, but you have to move on. Even though I've never moved on.
No, Wolf Children, and I love the boy. That's a Wolf Children. We're talking about us, but yeah, going in our live stream, somebody said Ponyo wasn't that great. He thought that Nausicaa was average. I agree that Nausicaa was average. As for Ponyo, I think it's a little bit more complicated.
So
Because Ponyo was meant for younger viewers, definitely like younger, and it looks incredible. They
oh
have
yeah.
Ponyo where Ponyo when Ponyo's skipping up the mountain, she's racing the car up the mountain, skipping on the backs of the ocean creatures is
Mhm.
incredible,
Oh yeah.
incredibly well animated. That might be the best like single piece of animation. It's one of the best I've ever seen.
Hmm.
But Nausicaa, I take a lot of for my opinion. Nausicaa actually, I know the rights absolutely adore Nausicaa. I think that Nausicaa is an average, and I think that Princess Mononoke is of Nausicaa. Mononoke, I will argue, is a masterpiece. I will fight for that. I think that Princess Mononoke is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It's for me though, Castle in the Sky is so much better. Like so much of an
I
enjoyable
think
film.
Castle in the Sky is a very fun movie, but I don't think that it's as good as Mononoke. I love Castle in the Sky though. I love it. She does one of my all time.
She's fantastic. It's like like most female like he did the sort of like strong willed anime girl quite well there, where it's like what do you do when it's like okay girlie we'll take you there but you're gonna have to pay your way, and then it's like a giant mountain of dirty dishes and it's like well rolls up sleeve, and then of course the entire pirate crew falls in love with her, and it's honestly, whenever I'm not writing a serious book and I have to have a pirate crew in it, I go back to them for inspiration. Where it's like, uh,
Just model it off of Castle in the Sky.
yeah, so like how they're like vicious pirates.
You
Like
could do worse than that.
they were killing people like in the opening scene of the movie. Like they've killed people, but they're actually
Were
soft-hearted
they
on the
actually
inside.
killing anybody though?
I mean,
Probably. You know
they,
what? Why are we even gonna bother? Yes, they were.
they threw grenades at them. Like I don't know. Like but so like I have this one book I'm working on where like there's this mermaid character who's a hanger-on of the hero. Hero gets captured by pirates with Sloth T Gold, pirate captain Esquire. Um and his crew is utter idiots. And so they see her, and she's very dehydrated because she's been panicking. And as a mermaid, she kind of loses her luster and looks old and wrinkly when she's dehydrated, as mermaids do. And so they look at her, and it's like, "Who are you?" And it's like, "Oh, she's so old. Like, did he bring his grandma?" And she thinks for a second because she's actually like as dumb as they are. And she goes,
And she goes,
"Whoa, that's
"Whoa,
an echo
that's
there."
that's an echo there. That's
An eternal
an
echo.
eternal echo."
Whoa,
Whoa,
Echo.
echo.
What?
Is that me? Is that me?
I think you probably
I
want
think
to
you
turn on
probably want to
echo
turn on echo
cancellation.
cancellation.
Let's see.
Cancellation.
Um, How's this? Not any better.
That's a
Here,
little
switch to
better.
my
That's a
head.
little better.
Because I'll hear myself,
Because
though.
I'll hear myself, though.
By the side of the bed.
Alright.
April, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wait,
I
is this
can
working?
also hear myself in the background a few seconds after I.
Okay, here, wait, hang on, let me get the headphones connected.
Alright.
All right.
So,
So,
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna.
JD Cohen in our live chat says, "What did I just walk in? We got a new person. April,
Hello.
author AM. He wrote On the Edge of Detachment and Forbidden Thought. Let's see. There
I
was
managed to
something.
get a story in all of the planetary anthologies that are slowly coming out.
Yep. The last second you
Finally.
submitted a poem for Soul and it got in.
Yep, finally.
Yeah, it's alright.
Gotta.
I technically did all of Soul in a month, including writing my own short story for it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that means that people don't have an excuse to be late on their anthologies anymore,
Yeah.
Anthony. Uh, no, that's mean to me. I'm sorry, Anthony. So, I'll just finish what I was saying. So, like, the pirates in Castle in the Sky are so fun that I put them in most pirate things that I do that aren't, like, serious evil pirates. So they come across this mermaid who's dehydrated. So she looks way older than she should be because she has no moisture. And so, because like both parties aren't exactly like high on the IQ range, one being pirates and the other one kind of being a hopeless romantic, uh, they're like, well, she's so old. Like, does he bring his grandma with him on his adventures? She thinks for a second. That's exactly right. How else do you think he's a hero? 3 square meals a day. I happen to be a fantastic cook. And, like, so what, she basically convinces them that because she's such a good cook and stuff like that, that this is why the main character is a hero and such a great hero. Therefore, she should cook for them and not be put into the pirate jail. Uh, and instead put it in the kitchen where she can, of course, escape at her leisure.
So she's saying she should be put where she belongs in the kitchen.
Sure, as long as
I
I didn't
agree.
say it. But it's in there, and of course, like the pirate captain's like, why isn't she in the pirate jail? Well, she can cook for us. Put her in the pirate jail. What's wrong with you people? I can't believe I paid for idiots, and now I'm surrounded by idiots. So on and so forth. I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. So we're talking about our favorite anime movies right now, April. What's on your top list?
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Top anime movies. Oh, what was it? Your Name. I think is that the title I'm thinking of?
Yep.
Yes.
Basic.
It's a great movie, Ben. Shut up.
The top anime.
But off the top of my head, I remember enjoying that one. Let's
It
see.
was
I'm trying to
enjoyable.
think. Yeah.
A good.
I mean, obviously, Studio Ghibli's are fantastic. I think my favorite Studio Ghibli that I've seen so far is still House Moving Castle. Um, and what other anime movies have I watched?
JD Cohen
Does
mentions
Pokemon count?
Galaxy Express 999, and Pokemon does count because the first movie was a masterpiece.
I
They
can't. I'm not
remade
sure
it.
exactly
I
which was the
watched the
first one. I
remake
just
in
remember
full.
having the one with that tiger and all the like diamonds that like grow.
Entei?
Uh, Pokemon 3. The
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I know what you're
yeah,
referring to.
yeah, where there's that little girl and that
Yeah, it had
lion
Entei.
Entei. Yeah,
They
I
went into
remember
her
watching that one a
dreams
lot.
and whatever. That was a
Yeah,
good one.
that one was fun. Hmm.
JD Cohen mentions Galaxy Express 999. Was that the Daft Punk one? I think it was. No. Well, the neighbors are being restless. Did you hear that gunfire, guys?
I did.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Good, it's not
that
in
was
my
a little
head.
house.
Try not to die.
Oh, I'll be fine. I got brick walls.
That's
Just a second.
fantastic.
So moving slightly away from anime, but still animated stuff. Have you guys ever heard of Gargoyle?
Yes.
Yes.
I just
I
recently
actually
started
haven't
watching that.
seen that. I haven't seen Gargoyles, but I've heard a lot about it.
I love how especially the first couple episodes, or just my initial reaction to watching it was, oh, it's gloriously pulpy, and the main character is very Chadly. He's like he's a total Chad bro, uh, and a really cool character to follow. And the first episode has some pretty high stakes or some pretty dramatic stuff that happens. It's like, dang, that's a way to start a series. So I think I'm on episode. I think I've made it through the first art, um, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
See, that was in a time when Saturday morning cartoons was still a thing, and um, uh, it conflicted with some of the shows I really like seeing on Channel 11. So I never watched it like I did Batman the Animated Series, that sort of thing.
Hmm. Ah,
Leiji Matsumoto for Galaxy Express 999 with Space Captain Harlock in it and everything else like that. Now that was a pretty decent CGI movie. If anyone watched that. See, J.D. Cohen has holds a flame for Golgo 13, and CVWX mentions Ghost in the Shell, the version that is not CGI and not Scarlett Johansson. That's proper cyberpunk. Both of my co-hosts aren't saying anything. What happened to them?
I'm back.
sorry, I had to mute myself for a second.
That's fair.
I cut out because I always. I should
Calif-
be good now.
California skate park being covered in 37 tons of sand to keep kids from using it. It's like, wow.
Oh my gosh.
That's some.
I saw a funny video that was a comparison of New Yorkers on quarantine and people in California on quarantine. And the New Yorker was just stuck inside and having a rough time, and the California person was just hanging out in their pool enjoying life, which is very accurate. My friend's in California, and she just goes on walks on the sidewalk by the beach all the time.
Yeah. They closed our parks. Some kind of
Our beach is,
stuck.
I know our beach is closed because the people of Raleigh wanted to come down and use the being off school as a spring break, so they had to close the beaches so that people from kind of out of town wouldn't come into the beach.
Well, that's fair. What's funny is that there's reports of people in New York starving almost to death just because they don't know how to cook for themselves and they can't order food as much as like we can here in the Midwest or wherever you are. So it's
Yikes.
like, it's like, what do you mean they can't cook for themselves? Well, there's just some things you just don't do in New York. What?
That's like, come on, that's kind of crazy. Especially like it's hard to believe that they can't order stuff as much. Like, I would think it's like a city with like all the different restaurants and places, they'd be able to get food delivered.
There's well, yeah, sure, you'd think that, but like New Yorkers are also like how do I want to put it? They're not like elites. They're the effete. EFFETE. Like they want to be bourgeoisie, but they're barely bourgeoisie. In the same way, like a French noble living in debt in Versailles is bourgeoisie. Like it's like their houses cost like like $2,000 $3,000 a month in rent if they want like the high class places, or like $1,000 anywhere else in this city until you're like in the countryside. And it's
Yeah.
like congratulations, the stimulus check, 1 month of rent for a New
Mm,
Yorker.
yeah. Yeah. Housing prices in big cities like DC blow my mind.
Oh yeah.
It's like insanity.
And like the thing is that St. Louis does it well. There are places that are expensive, like $1,000 a month, but then it's like even like just outside my house in a rougher part of the city, but still like walking distance from the city, it's it's far cheaper than like the equivalent in
Hmm.
any other like megapolis or
A
England or
And like
thousand
the
something.
thousand
dollars a
dollar a
month.
month places in cities, is that like a
That
little
that's
apartment? Or is it like
that's
a house?
expensive for you. A
Oh
thousand
yeah.
dollars a month. That is.
Oh yeah. That's because I live in a place with decent housing prices.
That's not
See, like
where I.
$1,000, about $1,000 will get you like, 1,000, 1,100 will get you like a nice house to rent around here.
Hmm.
And then, but you can get like a little apartment. Like when we first got here, just needed a place to like get here. We have like a decent place for like a good bit under that. Just a little apartment for 6 months.
I mean, like
So glad I'm not there. Oh my gosh, if I was there right now, I would die. Like I was going crazy there because we just had boxes. Because it's like we got there and we knew we were gonna probably move. Like once we settled in and figured out what we wanted to do, if we wanted to buy, rent, whatnot. So we didn't unpack, and I had no energy to do stuff. So I was just kind of laying around. We didn't even have like a balcony to go out on like we had in the other apartment, and it was just like a box. And there was nowhere to go outside. And as a farm girl, it's weird not having your own space to be able to step outside. Like the only outside you could go outside the apartment building to like the grass around it. It was weird. And I'm glad we're gone after the 6 months. And now we got like a nice, the neighbors are within like eyesight, but it's nice like spread back just off the back road really close to town. But we have so much room and grass and like a big field behind us that it's lovely. And I'm so glad I'm not in that apartment anymore, especially now with the quarantine. Oh, thank you. Thank you for not being there anymore. Anyway, okay, I'm done. Whew, flashbacks.
right. You don't want to pay. Let's see,
So
Oh, I will.
CVWX. You don't want to pay $2,000 for a 200 square foot apartment? Question mark. You're absolutely right. I don't want to do that. In fact, I consider
Yeah,
750 pushing it quite a bit. I mean, it's like
yeah.
can't like those mini houses. It's like wow, it's the new trend, and it's like these people are poor, and it's like
yeah, and
hipsters, and it's like, but they did this thing. They're poor, and they're still paying $50,000 for a chic tiny house.
Ugh.
so in the state of New Jersey, bare minimum price for monthly rental to live in an area that not more likely than that it's not likely that you're stabbed in is probably about $1,000. That's like below. That's like lower than that, and you are going to parts of town that you're advised to walk around. Uh,
Delightful.
the size something that's almost size area. You live in a friggin' you could live in a friggin' closet. That's not the point. Is when you step out your door, what are your odds of
Decently high.
and if you want it to go below 50%, you're looking at $1,000 and $1,000 and up a month.
Or you could live in the city, or in the country rather.
No, no. I
What's
am
wrong?
referring to the entire. If you're living in the country, you are paying a lot on that. I mean, a lot.
Why in the world would you pay more to live in the country?
Be away from
Well,
people.
probably because the city's awful.
Yeah, but like, how is it more expensive to live in the county?
Like, Sierra, I'll give you the actual answer because nobody wants to live in the city.
Huh.
People want to live in, so you bump up the prices.
Huh. That's pretty wild.
That's it. That's the answer.
Huh.
Now, in New York City, like, yes, city, as in, like, if you're in New York, yes, that's going to be more expensive. Like I said, I live in New York City, so right now, where I live in New York City is considered one of more rural areas. So not the most, but one of the rural areas of. And it is much, much more expensive for us live in an average house, my out than it would be a similar size house with a small yard. We were near the city because that's realistic. People now I could work. I if really wanted the city, we would be living in a crappy apartment. Uh, but there is no question the country properties, those are the ones that people the big bucks. So the answer is if you want that coveted below 50% chance murder area, then shelling out some money.
I find the East Coast incredibly disturbing.
I like it over here because, like, I don't know, the way we're at is the only thing I don't like is we don't have a proper downtown. It's very much urban sprawl. Um, but it's I don't know. I guess people say like kind of in the city part is more crime than like the outer parts, but not really that much. I mean, it's a small town out on the East Coast, but I will say mortgages are pretty great because for less than the price of the 2 bedroom apartment, we have like a house and land, and it's amazing.
Ooh.
I mean,
Fantastic.
Uh, yeah.
Ben and I have kind of mock argued with each other about this before. No, not argued, but basically Ben lives in Lewis and I live. You don't need a second, just
You keep cutting off a little bit. I can never quite hear like every couple words kind of cut off, and I'm not quite sure where you live actually because I can't quite hear you.
I was saying that Ben lives in St. Louis, I live in New Jersey, and we were always joking about which area is more likely to kill you.
Except I've never heard gunfire from your volume. your microphone.
No, where I live now, the answer is not likely. I live in a nice area now. It costs some leg, but you know, the odds of us dying here are pretty from gunfire are pretty low. However, if you took like when people think of New Jersey, the city of Newark, the city of Patterson, the town of Camden, yeah. Uh, Now, if you were to live there on the same price, say that Ben was, wherever Ben was living, I would imagine that your murder chance
Is roughly how much?
is rough. It is probably about roughly as likely as I would get murdered living at the same, where you live than the average.
I disagree. So the places I talk about and look at are in South County, where the murder rate is actually quite low. It is only full of Bosnians. That is the one downside.
I think the only time to really be worried about getting murdered or someone coming after you is when there's hurricane raiders.
Sure. But that's when you have to
And at that point,
puff up your chest, kind of go like bullfrog, ribbit. And they're like, oh, it's not a soft target. And then, you
I was
have
talking
Pierce
to
snipe them
someone.
with a drone or something.
I was talking to someone who they stayed during Hurricane Florence, and they they were like in between bouts of the storm, trying to like put tarp and keep their roof from coming off. And at one point, they saw some people coming up the road trying to, you know, raid places during the hurricane, and they called the police, and the police were like, "We're too busy. Do whatever you want." Uh, and so they put some warning shots at the feet to call their neighbors to let them know what was about to happen, and then put some shots down the line at the raiders coming and scared them off.
Based.
Yeah,
Beast.
their house stayed still. Oh my gosh, man, it was a while ago. I was talking to this lady, but I mean, Florence happened what 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and their house, they had just finished renovations, like had saved up and finally gotten these renovations done on their house, and the hurricane totally wrecked it. And when I was talking to her back, kind of at the end of last year, they still haven't been able to get their house back together because of insurance and whatnot being wonky and taking forever. And so her and her husband and like their 10-year-old son were like living in a room at someone's house this whole time.
I've been there, done that.
Crazy.
It's not bad. It's not the
Especially three
worst.
people all in one room.
You just have to make sure you guys are, okay with it. Especially if there's
Yeah.
only one bed and 3 kids.
Yeah. Just gotta do what you gotta do. But it's hard to
Mm.
imagine if you haven't been through it before.
Yep. It's just really its own experience.
Mm-hmm.
The uh, so I don't know why I always talk about Bosnians in a derogatory manner. I don't know why I do this, but
Because
one of
they're
my
lovely.
they're fantastic people. There's a meme I enjoy where it's like you invite the girl over, you start to talk, it becomes apparent that you have committed several war crimes in Yugoslavia in 1996. She leaves, and it's an eternal cycle.
Oh,
And it's like, why
I
can't I
know
find
them.
a date?
I actually know them.
Hi.
I I just assumed that it was. I didn't realize it. I thought you were just telling us, trying to tell us.
Trying to tell us that I've committed that at the age of 8 I committed several war crimes in Yugoslavia.
in the former Yugoslavia.
Only in your heart. I mean, not in my heart. There we go.
It would put a crimp in the dating life.
I
Date
mean,
number 3. So tell me about your past. Well, it's always awkward when we get to this.
I have to tell you, occasionally Bosnians will try to kill me.
So just be
And
prepared to
I
run
can't
whenever I say.
entirely blame them.
Honestly, I was the one at fault here. I deserve it. But I was 8 years old
Don't
in
get me wrong. I'm
Yugoslavia.
not just gonna roll over, but it
Eight
does
years
cause
old.
some guilt issues.
Killed. Guilt.
I could hear you like saying that word and then going, "What an interesting word.
Strange. I'm
I've
just
never
saying.
used this word before."
For the authors listening in, just throwing that out there. You have your action girl. She's like, yeah. And then there was my third boyfriend. I only went on 3 dates with him. He colony dropped an asteroid on the the moons of Jupiter. Destroyed 1 million people. Just casually mentioned it in conversation. I excused myself and left out the back.
And then I went and posted it on r/bad relationships or something. I don't know what subreddit that was going.
R/incel.
Oh
But was he an
no.
incel? He only committed a war crime. I'm not sure if that's an incel has that in him.
That is
Well, it
all
depends
the
on
incel
why.
has in them.
It depends on why they
Yeah,
did it.
he's gotta have an incel motivation.
Exactly. If it's not an incel motivation,
To get women
it's
to
just a
notice him. Committed several committed several war crimes, but then like if you look at it from a distance, it says like will you marry, it spells out will.
Turns out though she was only an e-girl, and it didn't work out.
Okay.
And that's how you get hit.
Hmm.
We said that's how you get Hitler.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think Hitler was an incel.
he was kind of an incel. He wasn't he wasn't like full incel. He was more like, how do I want to put it? He wasn't an incel in the end, but he had a lot of gamma rage going up to it.
I'm
And
trying to remember the reason he dropped out of art school. Was that kind of gamma?
no, it was because they didn't consider him a very good artist.
Mm.
So like, and he's all right,
He's
but
not.
it's like, yeah, no, they just denied him because they thought he wasn't very good. And when you spend most of your life running into the same people, failing to save your mother, profiting off of Germans' denies, and worst of all, kicking you out of art school, you start having some ideas.
Yep.
That's the eternal cycle for an artist, as long as it's not
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Where's that meme?
Eternal cycle, and it always ends the deaths of.
The eternal cycle, and it always ends in death.
I was more specific than that actually. I said it always ends specific the deaths of.
You keep cutting out,
You're
dude.
cutting out.
Did he cut out for good?
I don't
I'm
know.
right. It's very annoying.
Yeah, it's true.
We can't get rid of him.
Ruins the jokes. So you're watching any anime this season, April?
Let's see. So I need to actually get to watching animes that I've started forever ago. Like the Ancient Mage's Bride. I need to finish that one. But right now, I've started watching Gargoyle, like I mentioned, and we watched the first 5 episodes of The Mandalorian so far.
Fantastic.
Have you guys watched? Have you guys seen it?
Yes.
I like the cowboy western sort of feel, and one thing that's interesting, uh, I think took my husband by surprise, or he wasn't expecting, um, or I don't know what expectation he had going into it, but he related the Mandalorian like to Indiana Jones in a way because uh, you see him like in the very beginning very like confident in his element, but very quickly you see him out of his element and makes mistakes or almost gets somewhere but then gets like knocked off or you know not everything going great or not always knowing what to do or being like trying to deal with the kid and stuff like that. Uh, so I think that surprised him. I didn't really have much of an expectation going in, but I kind of enjoy that he's confident but also gets thrown out of his element and kind of is figuring it out as he goes in some parts. I like the widow though in that village in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, she was a pretty great character. Uh,
I'm telling you, a man in a helmet, like the girls, they can't resist. Like Goblin Slayer, Mandalorian. There's just like no escape from the man in the helmet.
right.
It was hilarious though. I love how subtle the acting was. I was laughing. I was cracking up at the widow, all the looks and stuff.
And then he chooses to keep the helmet on, if I
Yeah,
recall correctly.
yeah. I mean, you saw how like proficient she was with like a firearm, and
Yeah.
so our theory is that her husband must have been like some sort of fighter, and they like retired there, or her husband died, and they retired there, and so finally another warrior comes, and she's just like, a warrior in a helmet. I must keep him, but alas, she could not keep him.
But if she could have, would he be the same sort of man? No.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is it's like it's all about that mystery. Like you want to know what's under the helmet, but at the same time, you never want to know what's under the helmet. It's like this like forbidden fruit fantasy that you want fulfilled but don't want fulfilled, and that's why all the girls love a man in a helmet.
It's like how you like scarred under there. Is it a thing that you remove the helmet finally, and it's like you're just normal? Yeah, it's just a fashion sense. Ugh,
Like
ugh,
Kylo Ren.
exactly.
Or actually, it makes me think of Inosuke in Slayer, which was the whole joke that he wears like that really intimidating looking boar's head mask, and then when it takes it off, he actually looks like a girl.
The handsomest man in the entire Demon Slayer Corps.
Except that Demon Slayer, this is intentional and actually funny, and it's a good joke. And in Star Wars, it causes cancer.
And then they have him take off the shirt. Birthing Swolo Ren.
You gotta get swallow like Solo. Have you
Duh.
guys seen that video?
No. But
I
I'm
did not know
disturbed.
this.
Hilarious. I'll drop it in the chat later.
Right.
It's like a workout regimen to get swallow like Solo. The goal is to get as wide as possible. Pretty great.
I can't conceive of that, but I want it. I never knew of it before now,
Uh,
but Now
Let me
I
see if I
want.
can find it.
Force Awakens is a movie that bothers me more the more I think about it.
It's because
Which movie?
thinking about it defeats the purpose.
It does.
Is Demon Slayer
But it's
good?
also.
Yes.
I
Sorry.
remember when I first saw it, I really liked it, and now I don't. Now I think it's terrible.
Which movie?
The
Uh,
Force Awakens.
yeah,
Ah,
the first one. That's because J.J.
I
Abrams'
remember
soul
being
is an
like,
abyss.
I don't think I like hated it, but when I first watched it, I definitely felt like it was lacking, or that like the Mary Sue vibe was too strong. Oh, I've
Yeah.
Um,
been. I finally started listening
I can
to the
only be honest.
Last Straw.
I was taken in by it when I saw it. I thought it was good, and now I look back on it and I go, "Wow, that movie was straight garbage."
Yeah, I started listening to John's Last Straw review thing, read by Ken. My
Mm-hmm.
gosh, is
Oh,
it hilarious? I love it, especially Ken reading it. It's so great.
I've never actually heard Ken's one of Ken's things. Should get that because
Did
that's a good candidate to hear somebody with a thing accent read it.
did you did
Oh
you
yeah,
did
it's
you
good.
not listen to Black Cat of the Witching Hour?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Anthony? Anthony Y. I've put it out there so many times. Anthony,
I
you
can
hurt me.
hear the dejection in your voice.
Alright.
You want me to be ashamed about this, but it's not going to happen.
That's fine. I don't ask you to be ashamed. It's just it's just disappointing. It's just so disappointing.
I'm sorry. I
There you
look,
go.
man. I bought your book.
That's-
Good
I,
books.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But there's an entire thing. The Ben Wheeler experience is wide, vast, and mildly confusing.
See, this is what you put in your ad for, where you go like, "This is what I'm looking for in a wife." That you put in the paper. That's your description.
It's true. And then there's long silences where I just stare at nothing.
Like, if you ever read the book Sarah Tall, which was one I read like in elementary school, was about like the pioneer era,
Hmm.
putting an ad to get someone. That's gonna be Ben Wheeler's ad. The Ben Wheeler experience, and just that little description.
Wide ranging, mildly confusing. Sometimes stares into
And
the abyss.
exactly. And then you'll just see, like you'll just get woman after woman, right?
You just
Right.
don't need to mention your war crimes until like the third date.
And it's like, well, I know I got the one when it's like Serbs or Bosnians. I was fighting on the Serb side. Oh, good. Oh, and it's like, oh, you understand me.
Just put that in the ad, like, or maybe just go like looking for Bosnian for absolute.
Absolutely not. They're mostly Muslim. The ones who came over anyway. I might be. I might.
You go, no, of course not. That's ridiculous. They're Muslim. I love how seriously that was. Like, you did the whole thing. You do that whole thing, and then you're just like, no, don't be ridiculous. They're Muslims. That would be silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three syllable. I'm reading the live chat and laughing. Catholic Lancer in our comments says Ben Wheeler, 3 syllables, one hell of a good. This is how you get somebody to move out to the farm.
Right? And then it turns out that I'm only a good time from a certain point of view. I'm having the good time. Anyone else? Eh. Who knows? I know the Redditor comment of the day. No, you can't just try to wipe out the Serbs. No. And it's a crying
It's a
Zoomer.
crying Zoomer.
Oof.
Oof.
Am I back?
Yeah, well, there's an echo.
Okay, how
No,
about now?
we're good.
Okay, cool.
I can.
Yay.
Oops. Oh, phew. It's still
No, I'm
going.
not sure if I'm.
Anyway. Alright.
It is asked. Is Demon Slayer good? Yes, yes, it is.
Chad, yes.
It's about to end. The manga. The manga is about to end. This is not a spoiler because, by the way, because I'm predicting it. It hasn't happened. To be clear, what I am about to say.
Even their former
So I'm not spoiling anything. I am calling it. Tanjiro is about to commit seppuku. I think
I think
in the manga.
I think they're going to figure it out. And he's going to live as a human.
I mean, tell you what, that is pretty much the one and only way that you could possibly turning Tanjiro into a demon, then turn him back is pretty much the only real way you could get that final battle alive. I mean, that would allow you to, that would allow the reader to buy it, you know, to accept that this is something that had occurred.
Right.
But I think because they just showed the pre chapter, and unfortunately, still have a full wait to see what happens. It looks as if Tanjiro may have killed Kanao, and if Demon Tanjiro kills someone, always kills someone needs to be killed. So I think this
Mm-hmm. We'll find out
if
next
she's
time.
dead. If we don't
Next
know if
time.
she's dead yet or not. It doesn't look good though,
It doesn't.
but it is anime, so like you could literally make up.
Fit him in wasn't enough. Anyway. Alright, guys. You guys got any final words for us?
Sure. Watch
Uh,
Brand New Animal. That's the best new show of the season. It's awesome. You'll have to pirate it. It actually, I had trouble finding where to pirate. Ben helped me out.
Yeah.
There's literally no other way to watch it though, so that's what you're. And it is the best show. And watch it. Great show.
my final
Next up.
thing is, in case no one's heard, Mary May got funded. Yay! So in the
Yay.
process of editing,
Nice.
doing like my edits on it and sending it out, and working on the cover with my illustrator. So hopefully all the like, hopefully business will be back to normal by the time it's like time to like print and get everything shipping. Uh, so hopefully that won't be delayed.
Absolutely. I remember our live stream. Vaguely.
Yeah, we had a great live stream with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like we hit a lot of good topics.
It was. It was pretty great, and I'm looking forward to the illustrations. Uh, I am enjoying the anime Gleipnir, and I watched exactly one episode of Gal and Dinosaur, and it's a hilarious episode, but it's all you need to
Oh yeah,
watch.
that's the one I forgot about. I forgot about talking about. You know, my brother was begging to turn it off, and I refused. I wouldn't do it. He's in the background going, come on, man. Just change it already. It's terrible. I said there is absolutely no way I am this off. None. The only problem is, honestly, though, like, it has nothing to do with it weird or whatever. I just kind of got bored.
It's the thing. So like the best joke in anime this season so far is them doing a skit where this girl wakes up and there's a dinosaur in her room and she has to figure out whether it can eat ramen. Then they have some minor skits. Then they repeat the first skit, except it's live action with the girl being an old man going through the same actions and the same lines. And the
Yes.
dinosaur is clearly a man in a suit. And
Wow.
And then, though, as it keeps going, like, they continue with new stuff, but still in the live action, still with the old man.
yes. And it's
Wow.
hilarious.
So they redo the first skit, and then they continue, but, like, it doesn't go on to a new skit. No, they continue. They keep going and going in the live action for, like, the rest of the episode. This is a solid 10 minutes.
Yes. Like we're talking like a solid half of the episode is this. And it's
And
beautiful.
this is not, like, recurring characters. I mean, this is what's happening now.
Beautiful.
And you want to know something? Like, I had no issue with it. I just got bored eventually.
I
I
mean,
was just
yeah.
watching, going, "Come on."
And then the old guy pulls out his makeup like the girl did in the first half. It's like, oh well.
No, that was actually the funniest part about it, though, was that, like, he wasn't supposed to be the gal. He was just like, he was an old man, and this is what he's doing now. This is his life.
All
He
right.
has a dinosaur.
That's
It was
fair. He's like, Michiko's life philosophy. Don't worry about it. I appreciate that life philosophy. Apparently, I say that's fair so much, they'll go, as Ben would say, that's fair. I'm like, all right, I want to give a shout out. Thank you to all our watchers today, JD Cohen, CVWX, and others, I'm sure.
Catholic Lancer.
Catholic Lancer. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Come back again soon.